Episode 98, your 2026 marketing readiness plan. This is being recorded in December of 2025. Adriana Alvarez, who is the head of the WJOB Podcast Network and normally produces our show, is actually going over to hand in her final, and then she's going to come back at the end. We are on the campus of Purdue Northwest, so she just needs to do a short jaunt. And sitting in for her is an actual marketing person who knows nothing about producing a show, and that is Hunter Lorencic. He's if I go to him, hey man, turn the mic down a little, he would be like, what?
Yeah.
I don't even know which one of these.
He's got his hands up already.
Yeah, his hand 150 knobs. But Adriana will not be long, and I'm sure Hunter can handle it. Adriana will be fine. This episode walks small business owners through the essential items that you must get in line before the new year so that your marketing is ready to perform on day one. Most businesses slide into January without a plan, and the lack of preparation shows for the next 6 months. Today we look at the areas that matter most: your customer data, your content plan, your offers, partnerships, and your advertising calendar, and your owned audience all need attention before the year resets. The goal is simple: remove guesswork, tighten clarity, and then step into next year with some structure. So remove guesswork, clarity, structure. It's almost like structure, clarity, structure. This episode gives you a precise checklist that strengthens focus and reduces wasted energy. Strong preparation gives you a faster start and better results in the months ahead. Matt Hansen is a digital marketing professor and the star of this podcast.
Star, let's use that lightly, but okay.
So we've been doing this. We are on episode 98. How's it going?
It's going good. We're talking about 2026, right? So when I came to you and coming into 2025, I said, let's do a podcast. And you've been on me for
years.
Yeah. And I said, let's do it, right? And you said, we got to do 20. And I said, we have to do 100. And here we are at 98. We've still got a couple weeks left. I think we're going to hit it. But that got me thinking today. And I said, what is the goal for 2026? I mean, have you asked that for yourself, for your businesses, whether it's the radio station, the podcast network, or Heartland Sports Network, right? Like, what are the goals? Where are you heading in 2026? And is everything ready? Because, again, we're kind of at the front of December. But before you know it, everything's going to shut down. We get into the holiday and, everything. But are you ready to come out in 2026? Do you know where you're going? And I can honestly say that everyone I'm talking to is kind of just checked out right now, and they're not thinking about 2026 yet. And then when you hit January, it's go time, and everyone will be scrounging around trying to figure out everything they have to do. But me personally, I'm taking December to figure out what my next plan is for 2026. So 2025 was the launch of this podcast. I think we've done a pretty good job with it. Now I have to step it up. I have to do something bigger in 2026. So I'm already preparing all of these things that I want to do going forward. Haven't really announced any of that kind of stuff yet, and I'm working on it internally. But, I'm understanding to get where I want to be on December 31st of 2026, I have to start planning now. And most small, medium businesses aren't really thinking about it yet, right? Like, we'll get to it.
What about, just speaking of this podcast, I mean, we have a captive audience of marketing students that are your disciples, and I know a number. I mean, I have some here too, because we're on the campus. What if we recorded live once?
Live.
You ever listen to these folks that travel the country? They do their podcasts mostly on universities.
Yeah.
And we just said, hey, we're going to record our podcast. Anybody that wants to come, maybe we get a dozen people that come. if they're in your class, they have to come. But we just, and part of it is they take questions.
Right.
Like, say you're going to have one theme. All right, hey, we're going to do it live today at 2:30 in the conference room where we were, or we did the pitches yesterday, and we said, hey, we're just going to set up and we're going to do 2 podcasts there, and stop in anytime you want. You could sit down and see how a podcast is done, and you can ask questions and just be part of it. What do you think of that idea?
That's fine with me. You know me, I'm up for anything.
If nobody comes, we'll at least have to make like the people that work here come, and you'll have to make like a half a dozen students come, and we have some people there.
Yeah,
right?
I'll start paying people to come now.
Yeah. So anyways, you look, so what does December become for you? Like a cleansing time or what?
So you know how everyone always starts January and I'm going to get healthy, I'm going to do all these things. I see December as, okay, what did I accomplish this year? Did I set out, like I set out in January to do something, did I accomplish it? And, my goal this year was to do 100 podcasts. I didn't know where we were going, didn't know how it was going to work, didn't know if anyone would listen, but obviously we've finished, like we're almost there. And will we continue? Again, we've talked, it's rinse and repeat. It's not really it's a habit at this point. So now I'm sitting here and I'm looking at, my clients, I'm looking at my own personal endeavors and asking myself, where do I want to go? Right. So I don't know, maybe it's the fact that I turn 50 next year. It's kind of that midlife crisis of understanding, are you where you want to be? But I've given myself a challenge every year to think up something that's even bigger than what I did the previous year, right? So if we've spent tons and tons of time and effort in this podcast and getting it out to the masses, what can I go to the next level with next year that's going to make me uncomfortable? And when small and medium-sized businesses start looking at their marketing, if you do the same thing every single year, you should expect the same results, right? So what is it that you need to go out there and do right now that can change the trajectory of where you're heading next year? So if you want to open multiple locations, or you want to do twice the amount of business, you want to increase your average order, you want to have more communications, whatever it may be, like what are you doing right at this minute that's going to change that once you hit January 1? And I think most people aren't doing anything right now because they're sitting there going, well, I'm trying to, sell out the rest of the inventory I have or whatever it may be for the rest of the year. But like you've got to be, we are, as I see this a lot, especially at a university setting, we react to things that happen a lot of the time. Like we're not forward thinking. We're not 3, 6, 9, 12 months out thinking forward. And I've been hanging out with so many startups that are thinking long-term vision that it's actually starting to bleed into me at this point, that I'm starting to look farther and farther and out and going, okay, if I envision doing this in 2 years, what do I have to do to work backward? And now I've got to set that in stone. And I think it's an interesting way to look at life. It's an interesting way to look at your business. But if you're not where you want to be, or you have these aspirations to get to a certain level, you have to go, all right, what is it that I want to do, and work backward and say, if I'm not putting in the work right now, I'm not going to get there. So all of you that are out there, and I know there's a ton of you out there that are listening, what are you doing right now for next year? And if you're not doing anything, it's time to start, because this will come out next week on Apple and Spotify. But at that point, you're mid-December, so you've got 2-3 weeks left to go. Let's get things lined up so you're ready to roll out. And I see this a lot where, my clients won't have budgets approved for until April, and they don't spend anything in the first quarter. And I always joke, I'm like, well, why aren't we out there spending money? Why aren't we getting in front of people when there aren't competitors out there spending money? Like, let's go, let's get out there. And it's just this thing that happens, and it's human behavior. So I'm trying to break that a little bit with this podcast today. But where do you want to be? Where, like December 31st of 2026, what is your goal? And let's work backward.
I have so many follow-up questions, but the first one is you're not 50 yet?
I'm not. I look it, but yeah.
He's the only reason I say that is we're sitting here. If you happen to be watching, you can watch on YouTube. You just go to WJOB 1230. That's my radio station, one of them, and then you can look on their YouTube, and you'll be able to see that we're both sitting here. And I'm like, he ain't 50 yet? What the heck?
With our gray hair, yeah.
Yeah, that's a personal jab more than anything else. But, you know, I agree with you. It is a time of rebirth at the end of the year. But more and more, my son-in-law works in data.
Mm-hmm.
And he's getting me to read a couple of these ridiculous books. Maybe I read a paragraph or a page or a chapter or whatever. But it is the main theme is that we're at a point in history where there's so much data created about everything that you do. Just spend a little time just looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You don't have to have like a goal about looking at it. Just look at it.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this one. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Gosh, when I do it, it's embarrassing. Because then it would be like, oh, man, I was supposed to call that dude. He wanted to buy advertising. Literally every time I do it, and it's usually once a year.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, man, and then everybody here gets mad at me, and then, man, by next year maybe we have him as a client.
Yeah. Follow
and
up with Emily, by the way.
Yes, there you
Okay.
go. Hey, Hunter, Emily Edwards. Yes, she's an entrepreneur. She has a budget, and I told her I would call her 2 weeks ago, and that hasn't happened
I'll
yet.
take care of it. I'll call
Yeah,
her.
yeah.
I
you'll
talked to
call-
her earlier today.
Yeah, so yes, so they get so mad at me, but combing the data has that purpose.
Right.
I mean, that's not the purpose, but it has an underlying thing that is very positive that we can get more sales out of me just remembering leads that I had. So I guess that's what I'm saying is that if you're a small to medium-sized business, recognize that it's not the old days 40 years ago where you go in the back and look at a ledger or something. You can look at how many people were at your website. You can go into your QuickBooks and sort different months and see where, oh, geez, I thought our biggest sales month was October. No, it was April. And just kind of looking at it and hit reports and do this report, do that report. Just looking at your data can get you a lot of insight, but you need to take the time.
One of my favorite things is to look at the sales data, and you say, oh, well, we sold a lot in April, we sold a lot from September to December, and then everything else is kind of low. Ask the question, okay, well, what happens between January and March? People are, obviously repaying bills and all this other stuff. There's certain things that are going on, winter and all these things, but what can you do to elevate those months? So can you, a lot of people will throw like an open house or some kind of event at their business, and they always do it in prime peak season. And I always say, why are we doing that? We're already going to get sales then. We're already selling a good majority of our product at that point. So why don't we push it into the summer? Why don't we push it into the first half of the year, right? Like find something to do during those low times to elevate those revenues during those low times. You're already going to get the Aprils. You're already going to get the Septembers to the December. Don't run it then. Run it when you're kind of low. And from a data perspective, one of the things that I have on my list of things to do this week is to go in and start cleaning up my email lists. Right. So people that have not responded to any kind of emails that I've sent through the years, I'll have to go through and kind of look at it and go, do I scrub them out of it or do I do a welcome back email? Who are those individuals that have been most engaged? Do I give them a phone call? Do I just call them up and say, hey, happy holidays, wanted to check in, see how things are going? We've mentioned a few times on here how I run the digital marketing competition, and one of the conversations that I've been having with the professors that are really involved in it is how to connect all of them together so that they can all share notes on how they teach it in a class, right? So do I create a separate kind of forum, something, what do we do with them to kind of connect all of them? And that's just literally me looking at data and going, okay, out of the hundreds of professors that I have on this list, which ones are the ones that are engaged with our brand, and then connecting them together, right? So if I send it out to somebody that never opens an email, never really pays attention to us, they're not going to be there anyway. So what's the point? And I've talked about this in the past with different clients that I've had that never look at the data, never want to scrub their email lists, never want to understand their sales data, don't even keep track of this stuff. But really at the end of the year, I look through it and we talk about sales April, September through December. If I'm understanding that, I know that I need to do something from January to March and I need to do something from June until August to increase revenues. Otherwise, I'm going to see the same results that I saw this year, right? So what is it that those two things that I can do during that time period to actually boost my sales, which is going to show me that I have increased revenues down the line?
So really what you're getting at is like setting some sort of calendar to the next year. If you're the small to medium-sized business, you're usually buying advertising or marketing in some way. Otherwise, you wouldn't be listening to this. So when you look out over that year, and I always use my buddy, the HVAC guy, and he's busy as all get out right now. I can't even get a furnace into a building that I own, and he's I'll get you when it slows down. Well, when's it going to slow down? It's 4 degrees out today.
Yeah,
you know what I
freezing.
mean? He's like, well, I don't know. You're my friend. If I got it, somebody's going to want a $20,000 furnace job, you got to wait.
Yeah.
And that's how it is. But he's busy, and he'll send out some emails. Like he kind of lulls at the breaks of spring and kind of between summer and fall when nothing's really happening. And he brought it up to me one time. He's like, people say, oh, we're not making any money at that time. Yeah, but that's actually the time where you set to make the money in the next season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're going to go out and we're going to go into January, February, March for our advertising here. And I look forward to that because now it's like, all right, people will see you. They don't have any money, so they well, at least they'll let you in because they're not spending any money. And marketing departments or somebody who owns a company usually doesn't have it, but they'll at least talk to you. To me, that's the time to get in because they won't say, oh, we're really busy, we can't do it. So look forward, like, what is your plan for the year, but how are you going to time it out?
Right. So I mean, you probably look at your revenues, and they fluctuate based on times of year, just like everybody else. But I had a mentor a while ago, and I'm talking 10, 15 years ago, that said to me at one point, I was working on a project with him, and he goes, how do we level this out? How do we make it a horizontal line instead of a line that goes up and down? And I went, that's an interesting approach. I go, explain more. And he goes, there are times in the year where there's a lull, right? Sales aren't coming in. There is a time where sales are just through the roof. So we've got kind of like this middle ground of where our average revenue per month would be X. How do we make it so that instead of those extremes, how do we make it just a flat line all the way across? So every single month it's the same or increasing as we grow. But how do you make it flat? And I said, I don't think I've ever looked at it from that point of view. And it kind of dawned on me. I'm like, that's genius, and I can't believe I'm that stupid that I didn't look at it from that point of view, right? Like, this is when we sell, and this is when we don't sell. But his question was, well, why aren't there sales in that area? It's because you're pulling back. And I saw something online, I think it was yesterday, and it was basically asking you if there was no way for you to fail in something, what would you do, right? And like from a business perspective, we're always thinking like, okay, well, we gotta time things right, and we gotta do it. And, here's kind of how it all plays out. But if you could take money, right? So you're getting into January, and that's what we're talking about. Getting into January is if you could get into January and produce the same amount of sales that you produce, let's say in April, would you do it? And most people say, heck yeah, I would do it in a heartbeat. And then you just have to go, all right, well, that's the goal, right? So we talked about my goal, December 31st of 2026. Your goal is to hit that number. Work backward. What do you have to do? And we sat down, we were talking with Emily a couple weeks ago, and she said, I want to get to $1 million in revenue. And I said, okay, great. Not a problem. Let's work the numbers backwards. So we did a digital funnel and worked our way up. And she looked at me and she goes, how'd you do that? I go, this is basically how much money you have to spend to get to your $1 million revenue in the digital space. And I do that over and over and over for not only students in classrooms, but clients and everything else. And I say everything's possible. You just got to lay out a plan to get there. So what we're saying is, if you want to have April, or you want to have, the sales that you have in November every single month, you can do it, right? There are tools out there for you to get there, but you're going to have to put a plan together. So I worked the plan backwards. I said $1 million in revenue, work your way back up, and that's going to equate to this many impressions, and this is how much it's going to cost you. And, are you willing to put that much money in to get you to where you want to be? And that's the question, right? How much are you willing to put into this thought process now to get to where you want to be in 2026? And most people, I would say 98% of people, won't do that work. And that's what I'm saying. Now is the time to do it, right? I'm going to spend the next 3 months analyzing where I want to be on December 31st of 2026, and I'm going to build that plan to get there, and I'm going all in. And most people don't go all in. They're just like, oh, I'm just going to keep going. So that's what I'm saying today is make your plan, figure out a way to do it, and you either go all in or you just accept the fact that you're going to be the same company that you were last year in 2026.
He's Matt Hansen. We went through a lot of stuff. I won't even summarize. Please, we're up almost. This is episode 98 of Mastering Local Marketing. If you happen to be catching it, we do it live in one sense, in that we are live on my radio stations, AM 1230, 104.7 FM, and also live on the TuneIn app. You can go to YouTube and see us with our legs crossed in the same manner. I'm kind of the older version of the 49-year-old Matt Hansen. But we've been around business, and we want you to do good with your business and to use your time and energy, and just remember how beautiful it is to kind of be in business for yourself. But there are a few things. Sometimes you got to push yourself into new areas that are a little uncomfortable. Planning for a whole year seems like a big waste of time that you do in a shower for 20 minutes one day and then that's it. No, it's just a continuing refresher course, and that's what December is all about. Final comment.
If you have a vision to get somewhere, plan it now, because if you don't plan, it's not going to happen. So, use 2026, figure out where you want to be, and if you need help, let us know, because that's what we're here for.
Thanks to Adriana Alvarez. If you got any comments, you want to get a hold of Matt, just go matt@digitalhelium.com, and you never know. We need some guests, too. We'll probably get some of that in 2026. Until next time. Oh, wait. Thank you to Adriana Alvarez, who went over, handed her final in, and came back to close down this podcast. That's efficiency. Until next time, see you later.